It's good to see all of you. Some of you have made a lot of our meetings, some maybe your first, but I thank you for making this a strong priority in your day today. I'm Katie Dempsey. I'm privileged to be serving actually as chair of this profoundly important committee. I'll tell you, the discussions and the discoveries that we have been working on have certainly impacted me in a large way. I would say I look at education and workforce a little differently about all who we need to be thinking of when we're thinking about those terms. I'm going to ask my committee members to each introduce themselves, because some of you are new, and tell a little bit about you. So, Representative Epps, if we could begin with you, please.
Are we ready? Okay, thank you. Well, good morning. I'm Bubba Epps. I represent House District 144, which is in the middle of our state, mainly a rural district, which Wilson, Bleckley counties in whole, and then parts of Jonesville, Houston, and Warren. And, it's an honor to serve with our chairman and on the Appropriations Subcommittee as well. And this is a vital subject that I'm glad we had the wisdom and foresight from our leadership to carry forth a study committee so that we can really get an in-depth view of what our situation here is and hopefully come up with some strong recommendations for our upcoming session. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Stovall.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Valencia Stovall, House District 74 in Clayton County, and I'm excited to be sitting here on this committee and have learned a lot since our very first committee meeting, and definitely looking forward to good recommendations for us to be able to move forward with legislation that can be able to help our individuals with developmental intellectual disabilities.
Thank you. And Representative Werkheiser.
Morning, I'm Representative Werkheiser, and I represent Tattnall, Evans, and Wayne counties in southeast Georgia, about an hour inland from Savannah. It's already been very enlightening. We've learned a lot, and I'm just excited about what's going to come out of this and what's already happened as a result of us meeting. So thank you all for coming.
And I represent Rome and Floyd County, so the northwest corner of our state. We are also joined today by Julius Talbert from Legislative Council, helping us to navigate this, as well as Michael Parkerson, who will be in charge of helping us write this very important report. I look forward to where we go from there as a committee. And so we will start the day, first of all, with a presentation from SPAD. And Cindy, if you would just introduce yourself to us, as well as tell us a little bit about SPAD, and then go into your presentation, please. Thank you.
Yes. Hi. I am Cindy Burns, and I work at the Coastal Center for Developmental Services. I'm actually stepping in for my executive director, who is a member of SPAD, but she really felt like this message needed to come to you. SPAD is a group of providers that provide services throughout the state for people with developmental disabilities. And I'm not going to try to speak on something I'm not as strong about. I want to share my passion with you, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the SPAD. So I'm sure that there's others here that can talk to you more about that. So should I go ahead? Okay, I'm Cindy Burns, like I said, and I'm from the Coastal Center for Developmental Services. And first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. And as I was hearing you introduce yourself, I'm just so excited to talk to people that have the passion. Often I'm talking to businesses, people that don't understand the passion that we all share. So I just want to thank you, Madam Chair, and the rest of the committee members for taking this seriously, because I think everybody in this room takes it very seriously that all people need opportunities. We're a private nonprofit at the Coastal Center for Developmental Service. We have 438 individuals that we provide services for. We have 3 programs. We have a pre-vote program, where is more of our day program. It's site-based. We have 52 people in our rehabilitation program, and that's for the people that we serve who are more medically fragile. And we also, and this is the department that I run, it's 216 people, and that's for the community employment program. And as you see with these numbers, for the first time ever in the 20 years I've been working at the center, community employment has surpassed the number of the people in the day program. And I think that goes to show that we do support employment first. We feel like that anybody that wants to work should have the opportunity to work. We have been doing this for over 30 years. I feel like the We're successful because of the long-term supports that we're able to provide for the individuals. You know, when someone works on a job for 25 or 30 years, that shows commitment. But there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that people don't realize that in order for them to be successful. We currently serve about 216 individuals in the community. Even through the recession, we had steady growth because the community that we live in still valued the people that we serve and really felt like they could be part of the community. This year has been our strongest year of placements. We've already placed 50 individuals. You know, when I first started this 20 years ago, a lot of the people we served, we did bag and groceries and cleaning, and I think that's pretty typical of a lot of people back in the 80s, 90s and stuff when we first started this initiative. But I realized that I, Cindy Burns, was making the mistake. I was putting on a type of a ceiling, and I was limiting their abilities, and that was my mistake. And since we have started more discovery and transition programs through whether it be Project Search or transition through high schools, and then some of the other initiatives I'm going to talk about, we have totally seen this change. I can't wait to share some of the stories that I'm going to share with you on the outcomes that have come because of this philosophy. You see here that several of the people have had their jobs for over 20 years. Again, that's huge. A lot of people don't do that anymore, do they? They keep hopping through those jobs. 83% of them have been on a job for more than a year. I think that's incredible. Again, we're not looking for those quick jobs. We're looking for careers where people can layer the skills that they have and really make a difference. Look at these pays. I'm really excited about this. Nothing like the fact, I can't even believe I'm having to say this because I'm looking forward to a day that I don't even have to say that a person that receives services from us makes more than our job coaches. But how amazing is that? This goes a long way back from 20 years ago when everybody was making minimum wage. If I were to predict, I would say probably only about 10 to 15% of the people that I currently serve are making minimum wage. That is a huge, that is just such a huge blessing to me because it goes to show that employment is for everyone when it's their goal. We started a transition program back in March because we realized, I mentioned to you earlier about a day program we have, and I know it's been referred to a lot of times as a daycare center, an adult daycare center, and of course I do find that offensive, but I understand that everybody has a different belief on this. But we started a transition program for people that went into the community and did not want to go back into the work programs that we have. And so this was kind of a bridge. So you go out in the community, you know what, I've had more than one job. Sometimes the job match is not the right job for the individual. So we find a mistake, there's issues. So we started a transition program to either get individuals out of, you're going to hear me refer to it as Quantum, and that's our day program for Pre-Vote. So people that were in Quantum and wanted to work out in the community, or individuals that worked in the community, and we found some issues that we needed to work on to help them be a better employee. So we started this transition program. The guy you're seeing here, his name is Willie Baker. What's amazing about Willie is he came in through our Pre-Vote area because he has a developmental disability, he is deaf, and he also does not use any sign language. And so his dad felt like that was the safe place for him to be. We strongly believe that if you want to work and you have the ability to work, that that's what needs to happen. We need to help him. As you see here, he started working because of the transition program. He was in it for a few weeks, and we realized that he had a passion, and we wanted his passion to come true. He now works for the Port Wentworth Police Department, and there's nothing quite like seeing his life come alive because of what employment has done for him and the supports that were given. Obviously, a lot of supports were needed for Willie with different visual aids and training for the staff, but it really made a difference, not just to Willie, but if you could see the Port Wentworth police officers now and the way they interact with Willie, they're learning sign language and they're hoping to also teach Willie sign language, so it's kind of a reverse thing, and I think that's pretty amazing. As you see also that 27% of the people that went through the transition program are now employed. These are people that may not have been able to work before. This is how we're being proactive. Keep people moving, keep them fresh, keep them out there, and let them see what's out in the community. We also started a job sampling program, and this was for people that only were in our Quantum services, the day programs, we really felt like that they didn't have the knowledge that was out in the community. Some of them have only been in a day program, and so we wanted them to go out and see what jobs were. So because we spend so much time talking to them about your choice, this is your choice, but we wanted to give them education on what a community job would look like. So we started where they would go out for 4 weeks because we felt like this would give them an opportunity to try different jobs, see what they are, and also see what it felt like to be separate and in the community. I would like to say 100% of those individuals wanted that. I will tell you that some of them chose no. I don't want to go in the community. I want to be back at the Quantum. And so that was something that we found, and we believe that that is their choice. We take it very seriously, that it's very person-centered. And unfortunately, some are not able or do not feel like themselves or their family members do not feel like they can go out in the community due to health, fragility, and personal choice. That doesn't mean that they can't be valued. That doesn't mean that they can't work. What that means is they feel like they need to be in a more contained environment. Supported employment is regular offered. We offered every chance we get. We have quarterly meetings with the individuals. We also have annual ISPs with them, and we're also constantly encouraging them to be part of the community, taking them in the community and really see. Again, I'd like to say it's important to us for people to have informed choice of what they're saying they want or don't want. We also do a lot of training in the facilities. Again, I want to say we're not just sitting there. When I first started working at the Coastal Center, the jobs that we were doing, we were taking nails and putting them in boxes and weighing them. I'm going to show you a video in a second, and I want to show you some of the things that we're doing currently. They are making commensurate wages. I'm just going to go ahead and throw the elephant on the table. Absolutely, yes, they are making commensurate wages. But they are able, what we do is we test them on their abilities, and they are able to make what they're able to produce. So I'm going to, yes, indeed, I'm going to go ahead and throw that out. But some of the people that are under this contract make minimum wage. So I do want to go ahead and mention that. Before I go into this, I'd like to show a quick video.
It's easy to pass by the buildings time and time again without knowing what quality work goes on within these walls. In 34 years, a lot of people with developmental disabilities, people like Adam Barnard and Ebony Taylor, have been taught not just skills, but they've been taught to dream.
What do you do with the money?
I save it. I have my art pay bills.
Does that make you feel proud?
Yes, ma'am.
Patrick Curry operates a pallet jack. He can take the skills he's picked up here to a materials handler position almost anywhere. Those who become employed elsewhere are often just what their new employer needed.
Whether it's putting a few boxes together or whether they're typing data into a computer, they bring that joy of coming to work. And I think that's a little bit different than the typical mindset of most employees. They don't want to take the day off for a break to go to the beach. They want to be there working because that's what adults do, is they work. And they want to be a part of that. They want to embrace it, and they want to contribute back to society.
In the ErgoWell facility, as many as 5 people assemble ergonomic devices. With care and precision, footrests, seat rests, knee savers, and hose clamps are crafted mostly from repurposed materials. Instructor David Pertola is there should anyone need help, but his expertise is often only needed in the training phase. Defective packaging from a manufacturer? That is nothing Patricia Bedford and Michelle Richardson can't fix. These ladies won't quit until the labels are to Savannah Bee Company standards. Up or downsizing product packaging, that can be done under the CCDS roof too. Jermaine Hayward is proud to help the process, so is Willie Baker. In the Quantum Specialized Assembly Room, there are dozens of years of experience among these people. Margaret Hires and Maria Ponce have a combined 50 years experience working on intricate parts for locally manufactured business jets. They also build small parts for other machinery. Marcellus Dominguez, thanks to QSA, he is a trained spot welder. Regardless of the complexity of their jobs, everyone here has learned a life lesson. They matter.
So I felt like it was important to show you exactly what's happening. A lot of times people don't have opportunities to see, and I can only speak on what's happening at the Coastal Center in Quantum. But as you see, we're teaching the individuals that we serve transferable transferable and marketable skills. Several of these individuals, because of the skills they were able to receive, are now working in the community. We have a catering department. Let me share. And we are doing a lot of lunches for private schools. How that's transferred is we actually have an individual that was in our catering department. He's now working at St. Andrews, which is a prestigious private school down in Savannah. So he's actually using the skills that he received in our quantum catering, and he's able to do it in the lunchroom at the school. Also, all the public school systems in Savannah have hired individuals through our program. We also do lunch and learns for local businesses as well. So you see it's community employment, but it's also being done in the community as well. Promotional materials, again, we're doing silk screening. We do a lot of that. And some individuals, we have a couple of silk screeners in the community now that learn the skills at Quantum and are now transferring those and being able to work into the community, learn, and are hugely successful. Let me get the slideshow thing going here again. I apologize. You saw a little bit about the wiring harnesses and stuff that we're doing. We also do that for JCB. Again, those are skills that we're transferring out. In an ideal world, some of these jobs will be moved in the community, and that is our initiative. We would love to have subsets within the community of individuals that we serve doing these jobs, and we are actively looking for that. In the promotional, again, I mentioned, in the packaging, we have people working in warehouses. We are a huge logistics company, and we have found a real need. We do short runs for some of our businesses, and they don't have the warehouse space necessarily to do it, and so they will send it to us. They'll drop ship it to us, and we're able to do it, just like you saw there in Fiji. I hope you'll go into Target. It's really neat. Majestic, I think is what it's called, through Savannah Bee, where we package their kits, and on the back of it, it'll say this item was assembled by a person from Quantum, and that's a huge thing for us to be with Savannah Bee on their logo and stuff, and we thought that was a huge success. We also have a community day, a DayHab program. The DayHab program is really, I think, is a very amazing program that we have. It's for people who are medically fragile, are not absolutely vocationally based, but we still feel like it's important for them to be in the community. We have individuals that are part of the Art Bash. I know y'all probably seen. Do y'all have art with the twist and all that? I don't know what it's called, but our Art Bash is in the community where the individuals, if that's their choice, they go into the community and get to paint. We have actually taken those paintings now and made Christmas cards that we're selling to our community as well, with a nice story about the person that painted it. They receive occupational, physical, and speech therapies, but we spend time getting to know the individual and discovering what they want to do, and we make sure that they're out in the community receiving these services. Again, I have to say we are more than adult daycare. I think our video showed that clearly. An on-site program does not equal an adult daycare. And I know, again, that really burns my heart a little bit when I hear that, because I see the faces of the people and you hear the stories, and some of them just don't want to leave. If you were to stick me right now, you would see blood of community employment coming all over it. It's 20 years passion. I believe that if someone wants to work, to my whole heart, I believe they should have the opportunity. Supported employment is our push, as you see. I think that in the next year, our numbers are going to probably be even bigger than next year because of the relationships we've built in the community. We do recognize that people do have a choice, and that we do this through person-centered, and we're constantly asking individuals that we serve, how can we serve you best? What's going to be your meaningful day? And we try to involve the community as much as possible. We live by a philosophy, and this is something that I often say, and people at the office, if they're watching this, they're probably shaking their head and they're going to say, here it comes, but it's our me power statement. And this is our core value, that a value of a person should not be determined by their status, their salary, or their stereotype, but their passion, purpose, and dedication. And how awesome of a world would we live in if everybody was given an opportunity to live to their full potential. I thank you so much for today and being able to share these stories with you. So y'all have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Inspirational presentation. You've given us a lot to help us.
Thank you
on
very
this journey
much.
Here. Are there any questions from the members of the committee or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Myers. I have a question about the the job sampling. And how did you all go about setting up the job sampling in the community? And was it set up at actual work sites?
Yes, it was. How we did it was we went out into the community. We went to nonprofits because we didn't want to go across any labor laws or anything, and people can volunteer if that's their choice. But we wanted to have places where people could learn real skills and be part of the community. And so we have a lot of partners in our county, in our city. And so what we did was we identified the needs of the skills of the community and matched it to the places that we could go out and job sample. Again, it's 4 weeks and it's a whole day. It's not just a little bit, and they go to different areas within our county, within our city. I also want to mention to you Carlotta, the lady up there that you're seeing right now, that Carlotta is an amazing story, and I would not do justice if I didn't tell the story. 10 years, actually it's been 15 years. Time sure does fly, doesn't it? But anyway, she was in our rehabilitation program, and she vocalized to us that she wanted to work at Walmart. Carlotta uses a Delta talker, and she is now a greeter at Walmart, and she's done a huge job. And if you were to see her, it's really neat to see the customers interact in her house. She's come to life because of this opportunity. So again, even Dahab's not safe from community employment. So thank you again. Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, especially for coming all this way.
Yes,
this morning to be here.
Thank you.
And to help us hear about what you were doing. You left me with some very important thoughts, you know. I think as we continue to wrap up this morning, it's so important to remember that adults, that's what they do. They work. I love that. I love that you said that.
Thank you.
That was good. Well, our next presenter will be from the Center for the Visually Impaired, I believe. And if you could introduce yourselves to us and tell us a little bit about your background, and then let's go into your presentation.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Fontaine Huey, and I have the great good fortune of being the president of the Center for the Visually Impaired, located here in Midtown Atlanta. I have been at the Center for the Visually Impaired for just 2 years, but the Center for the Visually Impaired has been serving Georgians who are blind or have visual impairments for over 53 years. So we've been around a while. I'm the newcomer to the organization. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you about the Center for the Visually Impaired and the work we do to help those who are blind or visually impaired succeed in school, prepare for the workplace, and prosper through employment. I also want to thank you for the, and I loved what you said, Chairman Dempsey, the profoundly important work that you are doing. As the resolution that formed this committee noted, very astutely I might say, Georgians with disabilities want jobs and they want careers. The Center for the Visually Impaired, we also call ourselves CVI. We provide training, programs, and activities across the lifespan to empower people impacted by vision loss to live with independence and dignity. And I think everyone in this room would agree that independence and dignity, more often than not, start with a good paying job. CVI is Georgia's largest comprehensive, fully accredited private organization serving individuals of all ages and all degrees of visual impairment. Success in a job is the result of education, discipline, training, and life skills. So I'd just like to take a moment and tell you about our 5 program areas. We do serve people across the lifespan, and I think that will help you see why we think of employment as an end result of an accumulation of skills and training. Our Begin program, Babies Early Growth Intervention Network, works with infants through pre-K. This program works as much with the families as it does with the children because the parents and the caregivers are that child's first teachers. So the first thing we do is help the parent or the caregiver adjust to the surprise, the shock, dare I say, of a child with vision, an infant with vision impairment. We provide counseling, training. We also have a preschool to prepare our children to go to kindergarten with sighted peers and be successful in that very first academic outing. Our STARS program works with children kindergarten through grade 12. STARS is an acronym for Social, Therapeutic, Academic, Recreational Services. A children who is blind or visually impaired needs special skills. You can't be literate if you cannot read Braille. You can't move around your house, your neighborhood, or your school independently if you do not have strong orientation and mobility schools. We teach them activities of daily living. You have to be able to make your own lunch. Even if you are a blind child, your mother expects you to make your bed in the morning. We help these children learn to be independent and self-sufficient. In addition, we teach them computer skills and assistive technology. We provide social activities. Most children who are blind or visually impaired don't get to be physically active. They don't get to play sports with the other kids in their school. So we provide lots of opportunities for them to get out and move. Our goal in the STARS program is to provide our students with the special tools and the special skills they need to succeed in their academic career and to be fully prepared for college, vocational training, or the workplace when they graduate from high school. Our third training program is our New View Vocational Rehabilitation Program, where we serve working-age adults who are losing or have lost their vision. Here, too, we teach activities of daily living, orientation and mobility, computer training, assistive technology, Braille. We provide counseling because, as you can imagine, an adult who is losing or has lost their vision has a fair amount of adjustment to living their life differently. They can still have a rich, rewarding life. There's no question about that. But they will do a lot of things differently. In addition, in New View, we do work adjustment training and employment assistance. Our goal in our New View Vocational Rehabilitation Program is to get our clients back into the workplace. In addition to these three training programs, we have a low vision clinic and a visibility store, a retail store where we sell everything from talking watches to high definition magnifiers to help our clients navigate the world. CVI is a place of optimism. Our clients come to us with a mixture of fear, anxiety, often depression. But every client that walks through our door brings a fair measure of courage with them. They have faced the challenges ahead of them, and they have screwed up their courage, and they're going to figure out how to live their lives. We offer hope in the form of training, encouragement, and confidence building. We don't offer cures, but we are privileged to facilitate and witness many miracles. My colleague, Angela Denise Davis, CVI's Career Development Services Manager, is here with me this morning to share her insight on the challenges that our clients face in obtaining meaningful employment and how an employment-first policy would bolster our goal of reducing high unemployment for our clients. Angela?
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'll first start off by saying that at one point in time I was a client of CVI, and then I became an intern when I was working as a graduate student at Georgia State University, and now it's my pleasure to be able to serve on the staff as a Career Development Services Manager. I think I have the greatest job in the world because I get to play a part in making people's lives change through independence and opportunities for employment. I think it's important for you to also know that before coming to CVI, I was a trainee at the Center for Leadership and Disability at Georgia State University in their Georgia LEND program, and LEND stands for Learning, Leadership and Education in Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities. So I had an opportunity over the course of the year to look at how, particularly in Georgia, we are trying to offer resources and really assist individuals with developmental and intellectual development disabilities and their families. In addition to that, I sit on the statewide Independent Living Council Board as the vice president. So I'm familiar with the goals of the Employment First legislation and what we're trying to do, and I thoroughly support that professionally and personally. But I think it's also important to know that it's not odd for us to be here today as a part of this conversation. It's not odd because in the past we've had clients with intellectual disabilities, and also when I'm in conversation with colleagues in the community who are saying, Angela, I have someone here with a developmental disability or an intellectual disability and they have a vision impairment. What are some resources? So being here today is very important because I think it shows forth the power of coalition building. And in the state of Georgia, looking at issues of disability, I think that's a real opportunity for us to be here talking about coalition building and how this employment first legislation really can serve a cross-disability population. So I'm very excited about being here today. There are some things that we share with individuals with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and I think it's important to highlight those. We understand that it's important for all individuals to have an economic foundation during their childhood. That increases the likelihood for them to have outcomes when they get older that are successful. In addition to the economic foundation, we also understand that having educational supports are also key. Those two things, along with employment opportunities, change the course of one's outlook in life if you're a person with a disability. That's true if you're blind, if you're someone who has an intellectual or developmental disability, or any other realm within that population. How we differ, though, is important to consider as well. We're talking today about post-secondary opportunities and also employment opportunities. I like to say that post-secondary education is not necessarily primary for folks in my community. What do I mean by that? I mean that oftentimes post-secondary education isn't the first thing that one has the opportunity to grasp. Some of our clients are persons who are going back to school in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, because they realize the importance of getting an education. So some of those challenges when you think about education are quite different. In addition to that, our clients also come sometimes with a wealth of employment experiences. And the goal then is to look at some of those transferable skills, those job-related skills, those self-management skills which we can take from their past and put them into future employment opportunities. It's important for you to know that we have clients with accounting backgrounds, finance, HR, education, clerical backgrounds, anything that you can think of. So there's a real wide diversity in terms of the experiences that our clients have, which makes our population probably a little different from some of the other areas when you begin to talk about individuals with disabilities. What our clients need are opportunities to really engage some benefits, some vocational rehabilitation, some training that will make it possible for them to really fall into the employment first idea. I think it's also important to think about some of the barriers that our clients face. And as we talk about some of these barriers, these are things as we talk about employment first legislation that you may want to consider. Probably the first barrier is getting resources that make it possible for folks to get into vocational rehabilitation. One of the things that we know, that the further you are away from your point of incurring a disability, if you're talking about an adult who incurs vision loss, the further you are away from that point, the less likely it is that your rehabilitation can be more effective. So we want to get people into the system as soon as possible so they can get what they need in order to get back into the world of work. We also understand the importance of having adequate and sufficient training in assistive technology skills. I tell folks that in the world of folks who are vision impaired, 70% of all of the individuals who are of a working age are not working. Of the 30% who are, 90% of them know Braille. And I use that as an example of talking about the importance of having skills like Braille, orientation and mobility, computer training that makes it possible for people to really engage the world of work. Probably the greatest barrier, though, is the attitudinal barriers that our clients face as they go out into the world of work and try to find opportunities. We look at all of those barriers and try to instill within clients the type of skills, fortitude, motivation they need in order to be successful. these are some of the things we wanted to share as we're trying to be a part of this conversation and letting you understand that we think this is a wonderful opportunity to look at cross-disability correlations and just to get the CVI story heard. We're so glad to be here, and we would be glad to entertain any questions you may have at this point in time.
Okay, from the committee, thank you so much. It was a great presentation, and certainly another place for us to go with our thoughts. I appreciate it so very much. Any questions or comments from anyone? Well, that means you did a great job. You told us what we needed to do. Thank you so much, and thank you for your work. Okay, next, Easter seals, I believe. Everybody's juggling. We just appreciate you making time to be here. And
it was our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so excited to be here. This is so awesome. Seriously, it is. Just an opportunity to share these stories is so fantastic. You hear the others. We all have great passion for what we do for a lot of reasons. And my background, I'm going to begin and end with some things about myself, but I represent Easter Seals, East Georgia. We're based in Augusta. We serve 33 counties in East Georgia. We are affiliated with National Easter Seals, and I don't know how much you know about National Easter Seals, but it's a long-standing organization, over 100 years in its history. It initially started out as an organization that assisted children with disabilities. We used to call them crippled children back then. We don't say that anymore. But over time, we've realized those young children that had disabilities grow up, and over the course of their lives, they have other needs and other services that we need. Easter Seals organizations throughout the country all have varying missions. Easter Seals East Georgia has typically been a workforce development facility. We work with adults from 16 and up, and our process is one where we move people through a continuum of service. We have some individuals that remain in our facility for longer periods of time doing work activities, but for the most part, our goal is to take an individual with a disability, assess them, get to learn about their skills and weaknesses, and then try to help them move through a process to get community employment. Some people take longer than others. Some people are very quick in the process. We do that in a variety of ways. We offer what's called vocational evaluation, and that's a testing process to see what their basic skills are and what their job interests actually are. Then we move them into a process that's typically called work adjustment. We have a facility in Augusta where we do in-house work training. We get community businesses to provide us with outsized work, their excess. We do projects for John Deere, the Solo Cup Company, Club Car, Easy Go. We have a lot of community partners that provide work activities for us. While these individuals are in work adjustment, we're assessing their skills. We're helping them with job readiness training to get them prepared to move into community jobs. At the end of that process, we work with them on job placement, and ultimately we may even assist them with long-term job coaching in order to make sure that they're successful. Over the years, we've determined some things about the work adjustment model. We've realized that it may not be the most perfect way to get community job training. So what we've added to that model is a program we call job sampling. You heard that term before. Ours is a little different. The way our job sampling program works is we've made connections with community businesses, and they permit us to bring small teams of people, individuals, our trainees, into those businesses, prepared and dressed as though they're employees of the business. So for example, we work with Publix, Bilo, Kroger. We go to the VA hospital in Augusta, and we provide uniforms and whatever gear they need in order to go and work in that work setting. So these individuals get a chance to see these community jobs and actually do those jobs. That model works exceedingly well because what it does is it gives the employer an opportunity to see potential employees. And many people that we've put through that program, probably about 35% of the people that do the job sampling program actually get a position at the job sampling location at some point. Over the years, what we've tried to do very hard is assess the community needs, what type of training and educational preparation that's necessary in our community. So we've adapted our programs. For a number of years, actually 15 years, we had a collaborative program with the Richmond County Board of Education and before Georgia Voc Rehab, just Voc Rehab. And what it was, we collaborated with them for seniors to have a program. It was called Jobs 2000. Those individuals, those seniors from high school, all the Richmond County high schools in fact, would come to our facility, get work adjustment training, and finish their diploma training while they were with us. So there was a dedicated Richmond County teacher in our building with an aide. An hour to 2 hours a day, those individuals would get classroom training to work toward their diploma, but the rest of the time they were getting work adjustment training. Over the course of the 14-year program, we had 400 clients go through the program. The records for that program indicate that when they graduated, 60% of those individuals had a job when they graduated. Now I'll say that again. When they came into the program, they did their training, they did their work, they got their diploma, but while they were with us, we were looking for jobs for them when they would leave our program. So 60% of them, when they graduated with a diploma and had a job through that program. Within 60 days past that, 80% of them had jobs. And these were all developmentally delayed, intellectually delayed individuals. So that's something you need to know. It was a very effective program. Overall, as I said earlier, we try very hard to assess our community and see what needs are. I'll give you an example. These individuals, especially the developmentally delayed population, a lot of them never learned to drive. Transportation is a huge problem with them. So what we try to do, and we always advise for someone that's going through a training program and ultimately wishes to get a job, you have to have a transportation plan. You have to have a plan A and a plan B. Now what that is, that's up to the individual. You can have your family helping you get to the job. You can be riding a bus. We'll help you learn how to ride the bus, and we'll get you a bus pass if that's your plan. But one of the other things you can do is ride a bicycle. And basically in our community, especially immediately around our center, bicycle riding is a great way to get to places. So what we did in order to assist folks that probably won't ever drive for a lot of reasons, we made a collaboration with Action Ministries and Urban Ministries in our area, and we supervised their bike lend program. And in the past year, we've been at it a year, actually 13 months, we've given away 300 bicycles. Now these individuals that are receiving the bicycles are people that need to get to work or need it for their special needs, whatever their daily needs. And probably about 60 to 70% of those individuals have developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities. So that what I'm trying to show you is it's an example of how we're adapting our programming in order to suit that population's needs, in order to make sure they can get out and get to work. Philosophically, I can't overstate the importance of having a job. There are many people that we work with that are receiving disability benefits, but they can work. There's room in that system that you can have some additional income, and you should have some additional income because the disability benefits may not be enough to meet all your daily needs. So we have advice, and we give advice to those folks that they should look for part-time employment if that's possible. But on the other hand, and I really need to stress this, we have seen so many remarkable changes in individuals who get jobs. We see so many people that come into our facility who are really pretty hopeless. They're suffering from depression, they've been bullied, they've had issues. People have told them their entire lives they really can't do much of anything. You're just going to end up sitting on the couch and collecting a check possibly. But they come to us We give them confidence. They see they actually can do things. And the work we do is work that's in the community. They are jobs they can get. The production work we do, the materials handling we do, it's the same work that's done at John Deere and done at the cup company that's our neighbor. So they know they are doing realistic, real jobs. And they get the inspiration to believe in themselves. And that changes everything. That makes them want to be more productive. And it also gets them engagement in the community and with other people. And that's a priceless thing that happens when they're engaging with somebody on the job and they're with other people in the community. That inspires them to do so much more with their lives. So I can't speak to that anymore. I get very emotional about the notion of kids that leave high school, that they were very engaged in the high school environment, and then they leave it, and I call it fall off a cliff. They sit on a couch and they play video games. One of our programs that we developed over the last 7 or 8 years involves the autism population. And a lot of them also have developmental delays and things of that nature. This was a collaboration that we got into with Georgia Voc Rehab. They were noticing in their client population that a lot of people, young people, were coming to them that had autism. Well, I don't know if you tried to place people in jobs on the spectrum or had a spectrum person try to do customer service-oriented work, but it goes against the grain of their disability. They have social issues. They're blunt. There's things about their characteristics that make it difficult for them to keep a job. They have conflicts with supervisors. So Georgia Voc Rehab came to us and said, we're placing people on the autism spectrum, but they can't stick in jobs. So we collaborated on some programming, and now we provide what's called personal social adjustment training, and we analyze their issues with how they're not interacting well with other workers or how their social skills are letting them down in the workplace. And that program has been exceedingly successful. We started what's called Young People on the Spectrum, and it was a group we started about 5 years ago. We started with 32 individuals, and now we're up to 225. And that program is multifaceted. It has the personal social development element to it, but it also has a social component where we go out in recreational activities and they interact and they start to do networking and things of that nature. And once those social skills start to blossom, then they're more likely to be successful in a job. And that's another element of all of this. There's many things you have to consider when you're looking at an individual that you want to go into a workforce situation. So we try very hard at our facility to look at all those things and try to help the individual to ultimately be successful. We're starting, this is the other one that's another thing that I think is really important. Through our job sampling program, we have started a collaboration with our VA facility in Augusta, and they're permitting us to bring teams in and do work activities at the VA facility. And they're excited about the collaboration because they have mandates to hire 3 to 5 to 7% of their workforce is disabled. And they're having difficulty doing that, which astounds me, but they are having difficulty doing that. So they're seeing our collaboration as possibly a way to help them get disabled individuals into their workforce, because they can see them as they work in our job sampling program and then let them move on into the workforce activity. And it's helping, it's a good conduit for them to see disabled workers in the workplace and actually succeeding in jobs that they have at their facility. I wanted to just share one personal story, and I probably shouldn't, but I think it applies to this whole situation. My older brother was developmentally delayed. He was older than I am. We grew up in the 60s, but he was blessed to have a lot of services available to him through that period. He got good vocational training, and that's something that I think some of these young people are missing now. They're not getting access to actual vocational training in the school systems, so therefore they're clueless about what they can do or what they want to do when they leave. But he was blessed with that. And as he moved on, he was able to be accepted at an Easter Seals facility in Pittsburgh. And that was 40 years ago. I was his camp counselor for a while at an Easter Seals camp, and that's where I fell in love with Easter Seals. But at any rate, he worked at an Easter Seals facility for 35 years. What that meant, now he was developmentally delayed. His IQ was about a 47. He had to transit from our home in a suburb of Pittsburgh, transfer 3 times on buses, have the right change, get to the job site, and come home every day. He had people that helped him through that process, nurtured him to be able to do that. He did it for 35 years. If you had taken that job away from him, you would have killed him on the spot. That was his world. And that's kind of what I think you need to understand. There's folks out there that want to be needed. They want jobs. They're overlooked. And we all try every day to not let that happen. I'm so sorry. Because this is really important.
It's okay. Take a breath. Take a breath. We've got plenty of time. It's okay.
I didn't want to do this.
It's okay. I have spent every committee meeting trying to hold the tears in my eyes, so it's all right.
There's so many people that I've encountered in my Easter Seals facility that are exactly the same. They need a chance. They need people to have faith in them. They need the community to embrace them. And that's what we have to do. Now, how we get there, there's various ways. As I mentioned earlier, I think earlier educational opportunities, or at least job readiness training, could be helpful in their high school programs. I think that's being overlooked. I know we do some job readiness training, actually. We go out into the community. Certain schools have us come in and help with job readiness training with the special ed population. But what do I mean by that? They need to understand what careers are, what jobs are available in their community. They need to understand about transportation. They need to understand about resumes. They need to understand about job applications. All of those things. A lot of the individuals in this population do not get that type of education. It's very practical, and they need it. So we provide that. Yes, we can do that, but it would be far better if they were getting it at 13 or 14. You know, that type of thing. They'd be more ready. We also need to be able to encourage community partners to see the value in hiring people with disabilities. They're exceedingly dedicated employees. They will probably always be too early, and they'll stay late, and they won't think about overtime because they want to be there. They want to be engaged. So we need to find ways, either through better preparation as young people are coming along, to get them ready for that process, or if they don't have that opportunity, we need to provide it in the various ways we can, either through Georgia Voc Rehab's resources or community providers like myself, or other ways. But the need is there, and there's so much talent that's being wasted that they could be doing very productive things for themselves, for their societies, for their families. One other thing that I've realized in our autism association, the caregivers. They're people that are often forgotten. They have dreams and desires for their young people. They want a sense that when they pass on, that their young person's taken care of, that they have engagement and they have opportunities. And I have to say, in my mother's case, she felt very comfortable with the fact that my brother had had those opportunities and had made connections and networking in his life, that when she passed on, he was going to be protected. These caregivers have great desire to see their children succeed at things, and the people that they care for succeed and have independence in their lives. That's the hallmark of what we do in our facility. We want people to be independent and be treated with dignity, and having a job can do that. Thank you. Questions? I won't cry anymore, I promise.
It's all right if you do.
Sorry.
It seriously is. So thank you so much. We do have some questions.
Good.
Let's see. Then we'll start out with Representative Werkheiser.
A couple of things I want to go back to. When the problems you initially had with those on the spectrum, when you had the success, was it more in developing behavioral changes or changing maybe the jobs they had? Or
it was a combination. We kind of go through a process with them to make them more insightful about their work environments and how to interact with people. So the training kind of goes to that. But then we do work with the environments that they're in to recognize their characteristics, okay? There's a lot of fear sometimes with employers with certain populations, and they don't really understand the processing that that person is going through or certain things that they may say. So it's kind of a mutual thing that happens. Although I have to say, once we did extensive personal social adjustment, a lot of our individuals kind of blend in much better because they're taking a moment and thinking about their behaviors and how they impact others. So it's empathy, and that's one of the problems with the autism diagnosis. They sort of lack empathy. So if you kind of help them with that, that changes their perspective on their reactions to others.
Okay, and the other was on the mandate that they were trying to fill the 5%.
Right.
Was that self-imposed, or did that come
that's
from
federal? That's a federal
okay.
mandate. Yes,
right.
It is. Yes, and they've been trying. I know in our facilities in Augusta, they've been striving very hard to try to accommodate that. And it struck me at the time when they told me that, because I know the wounded warrior population. I mean, there's plenty of people they could be hiring, but apparently it's job specific and that they really couldn't match people for. So we've tried to start training our folks to meet their needs in order to meet their goal. But yes, it's a federal mandate.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Representative Stovall.
Thank you. I've heard about Easter seals, but I always looked at it, heard about what you all do with the early
it's a lot.
early learning. I didn't know
many facilities are children's. In fact, that's in Georgia. There's 5 Easter Seals affiliates, and we all kind of have different characteristics. 2 of them are totally children's services, and the one you might be familiar with is the Atlanta facility, and it is very child service oriented. The other facilities in Georgia kind of have a mix. Now, we do have a statewide program that's a collaboration, that it is a children's service-oriented program, and we all share in it together. It's called Champions for Children, and it's a financial support program that we offer. But, other facilities, we are workforce, and we're adults. So.
Okay. I did have a question. Going back to the program where you had the work adjustment training with the high school seniors, what was the name of that program?
Jobs 2000.
Jobs 2000.
Yes, ma'am. It was very successful.
And
the only reason why it ended was the changeover from Georgia Vocational Rehab to Georgia Voc Rehab. They did a realignment of their funding, and because they were supporting the students with resources while they were there. So we're still trying to resurrect it and work directly with the school district.
Okay.
But it's a very effective model.
All right. And the next question about the transportation challenges and how you were able to creatively use bicycling with the
There's
individuals.
hundreds of them in Augusta now.
The question I had was, did the local government look at adding some bicycle lanes in certain areas?
Yes, in fact, that's a very interesting question that you bring that up. We're in the process of, the city of Augusta and the county are in the process of working through some federal mandates to improve transportation issues, sidewalks, bus stops, and bike lanes. So that's in the works right now, and it's wonderful because we do have some areas in the city that aren't appropriate per se, and because of the federal mandate and the federal interest, and then I actually had to testify about that because it's a green initiative as well, which is wonderful, and it's very healthy. So, it's a really great program. So, yes, we are working with the city to try to get more accessibility via bike lanes, yes.
Yeah, because I know here in the metro area with the Atlanta Regional Commission, one of the big things is the LCI livable communities where you working and playing.
Exactly.
So when you talked about the bicycle, I was thinking that it might be another angle, even with you all with finding out in that area what monies might be available even on the state level to be able to assist with the transportation, and especially with our passing the HB 170 transportation bill. You might want to ask them to maybe put some request for money in for that as well.
The other thing we've noticed through that bike program too is a lot of the individuals that are getting the bikes are homeless veterans, which is really troubling in itself. But at least we feel gratified that we're helping them with transportation. But that program has been really stunning in its effect, really. You don't realize how impactful it is to have the freedom to move and go places. And even if it's with a bike, especially to get to work or to take care of your daily needs. And it's amazing that what that impact has. So thank you for that question. No, we're working on that, yes. Anybody else?
Any other comments or questions? Well, I don't see anyone. I want to thank you. And you know, as we've talked about this, I know it's often easy to think about young people that have finished their work in high school, that are transitioning right out of high school. We've had some conversation about older students that return or have left the education and not transitioned into workforce or post-secondary education. But one of the things that I know you specifically deal with is that veteran population that came to Augusta, often for deployment, for training and deployment, and their family.
And the medical facilities that are there, a lot of them return there for that.
Right, and their family stayed, and it's sort of that traumatic brain injury tsunami that is coming back to Georgia. So that is certainly a very important component to our discussion, and I thank you for the work that you do with them.
Well, one other thing I was going to mention too, as far as transition goes, we've also noted in the disability population that they don't often, and I've been talking about transition to work a lot, but many of our individuals do transition to vocational technical school, or they even attempt college. Even some of the developmentally delayed folks, they get opportunities. Those folks have a difficult transition to those new environments, and they need some supports in that area as well. The high school model is great, but it's very nurturing, and they don't, they kind of spoon feed you a little bit on the high school model, and then they hit a college situation or an upper level training situation, and they're not as fully prepared as they might be. So we do some work in that area as well. We kind of walk them through how to study, how to time manage, that type of thing with those populations. That's another element to think about if you're doing post-secondary education. The disability population doesn't always transition as smoothly as other students might. So it's something to think about.
Those mentors and coaches to help them through are very,
yes, ma'am,
very important.
And the schools do have resources. They have special services, but oftentimes those folks are kind of overwhelmed, and they're focusing on making them successful in the literal classes or testing or those types of accommodations, and they really don't have the time to help them bridge their behaviors to be more prepared for upper levels of education. So it's another area, and then they don't succeed. That's my worry and my heartache, because they have the potential. That they tested, they proved it, they did reasonably well in high school. They can do the work, but it's that transition piece that pulls them down, because it's overwhelming to them to be in the new environment, especially the autism population, because they handle change a little differently than the rest of us do. So that's something else to think about. If you want greater success rates in higher education with that population, you might need to help them bridge that transition a little bit more smoothly. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that with us
Appreciate
and for
it.
sharing your story.
Thank you. Appreciate
And I
it.
do mean that very seriously.
Well,
the stories here have been so heart-touching.
There's any family you talk to has a story.
That's right.
Okay? And they want the best for their children and their families, and work is part of that. So thank you.
Thank you. And next, I believe we have June DiPolito here to talk to us about our CSBs, our community service boards. June, I know you well, but everybody may not. I can't imagine that. But if you would introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your history, and share your story with us.
Thank you, Representative Dempsey. It's so wonderful to see you again today, and I'm honored to be here, and thank the other legislators for being here. And I even have one of my own, Representative Bill Workhauser. And I am June DiFilippo, and I'm the proud CEO of Pineland CSB, and that's the public service provider in Southeast Georgia. But more importantly, I'm a parent of an adult with developmental disabilities, and she would be here today, except there's a dance in the community tonight, and she didn't want to miss that. But she sends her best. And also, I'm on the DD Advisory Council for our Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. And in addition to being a CSB, I'm also a member of SPAD, and I'm also a member of GOSSIP, our agency is. So I want to talk, the two topics that y'all have that you're studying are both near and dear to my heart, both personally and professionally. So I want to try to address both of those some. But really, employment, there has already been so many inspiring stories today. And I think the presenters have done a tremendous job. And I always have to brag on the provider community. I feel like our both public and private, that we have some really great providers here in Georgia. I know you specifically want to know about the community service boards. There are 26 community service boards, and they make up a network of a safety net for individuals who, whether you can pay or not pay, you can come to the safety net provider, which are the public CSBs. And our mission is to empower people with developmental disabilities to explore possibilities for their lives by maximizing their independence, community participation, employment, and economic self-sufficiency in their daily lives. And we offer a wide variety of services across the 26 CSBs, but we don't just serve people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but we also serve individuals with mental illness and addictive diseases, as well as co-occurring services. And in our services, we offer choice, because the individuals we serve are just like all of us in this room. They all have different individual unique needs and desires and wants and abilities and preferences. And so we offer residential services, we offer supported employment, training, community access, the full array of services for all ages. And I appreciate you saying that, Representative Dempsey, because when I first started, I'll end up telling my age, in 1972, I went around saying, please come help us start services for people with developmental disabilities. And I said, you never know, you or I might have a child, or you might have a grandchild, or someone, please come help us start these services. And at that point in the early 70s, many people were sitting at home or had been socially promoted along. That was before Public Law 94-142 even. And 2 years later, I did have my first child, and she was born with developmental disabilities. So I always wanted to say that, make sure we have good services for Susie, Mary, Bill, and Bob, now say, and Gina. So we need to make sure that we have quality care for those individuals and quality supports. So together, the CSBs serve over 6,000 individuals in our services, those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we're supporting them in our programs that are all nationally accredited, and that we have quality improvement measures and management processes in place that are evaluated. And just the reason I was not here earlier is we had CARF accreditation, and Representative Workhauser came out and was one of our references for our agency for CARF. And in our surveys of our individuals that we serve, we have over a 98% satisfaction survey. And so we feel like we are wanting to meet their needs and to answer their needs. And my response to choice, and I really think this is so important, I think choice means communities help offer integrated choices for everyone. So take the first letter of each thing. Communities help offer integrated choices for everyone. And that's not just the providers and not just you and I, but our communities as a whole coming together. And we've heard some wonderful networking stories today, and that's what it's all about, so that we can provide the supports and the choices to them, and that it come from the community and get them as involved, whether it be in employment. And I do embrace employment as a philosophy, But I feel like if there's not everybody, depending on your age, depending on your choice, depending on your health needs, that if you said employment first for everyone, and that then cut off some of the other options and programs and services that we have. So we do have quite a few folks out in employment. I think about some of our earlier days. One of our employers was Senator Hill, and he did have a grocery store, and we had individuals working there, and he always came to all of our employer activities and everything. And the individual that he first hired when he passed away, Senator Hill, closed his grocery store that day and left the legislature and came home. And they said he didn't even do that for his own relatives. So he was very instrumental in that. But the economy has been such that Senator Hill's grocery store had to close. So a lot of times in rural South Georgia, the economy is a factor. So, but we are actively involved in supported employment. We get as many people jobs as we possibly can. The CARF surveyors that came from across the country this last couple of weeks, they went out and looked at our supported employment and had wonderful things to say. So we do think that everybody that can and wants to work should be able to work, but maybe we should have other options for those that cannot, other quality alternatives for those that cannot. And one thing that I do want to address is the access and the ease for us getting those services. And I think that plays into it, because you can have a lot of wonderful things, but does everybody know about those opportunities, and can there be easy access? So I think a challenge for all of us, and especially in state government and everything, would be to find easier access for individuals to get into service, so that when they're moving to our state or they're transitioning from high school or whatever, that they don't have to go through so many layers of bureaucracy to get into the services. And then also the layers of oversight and regulatory services. I think we would be remiss if we did not address that somehow in the things that we're looking at. Is, you know, I think it's fine to be reviewed, and that shows quality, but we have so many reviews that you can't hardly get down to your day-to-day services. So I think maybe the committee somehow can look at those aspects of it. But mainly, I said, before I retire and leave and whatever I do this world, I would like for there to be easy access to quality care for all disabilities, and us not to have individuals be assessed and be on long waiting lists, waiting and waiting. I mean, we should be able to get individuals into services more quickly. And I know as providers, many of us have vacancies in our program. We have capacity in our program and programs across the state, and we should be able to link that more efficiently and effectively. But the 26 CSBs stand ready to provide the service to individuals. I feel like we do provide quality care. There are many good both public and private providers, and like I said, I feel like Georgia is really blessed with that. We have been blessed with a wonderfully supportive legislature. Governor Deal, when Gina met Governor Deal, she asked him, "Are you going to make it a good deal for the disabled?" I love it. I said, "You go, Gina." And so Governor Deal certainly has done that, and there are many things. Y'all helped us to get our own department a few years ago. You've been very supportive. We're hoping this year for maybe a rate increase for all providers, and we want to be able to provide the care. Y'all have given us a lot of funding the last couple of years, both at the state and federal level, for family support, of which I was able to tell Representative Stovall about that today. That's an avenue to help support individuals and families with a variety of goods and services, and the CSBs administer a lot of those services, as do other private providers, Easter Seals and others. So family support, anything that we can do as providers, as individuals, as our community to help parents. And being a parent, I know that's so important for the parents to get the support for the early intervention all the way up to the later years, and also for our veterans. So if you have any questions about employment, I also want to speak to post-secondary education. Post-secondary education. When Gina graduated in 1994, we had already started in our community working with our vocational technical college, or Geechee Tech, to have some specialized, individualized classes. And so, of course, they couldn't passed maybe the admissions test to get in, and we were really kind of before our time, but we were able to work and with Boca Rehab and the Geechee Technical College at that time, and Gina did take courses there, and she still talks today about when she went to Geechee Tech. So now here's fast forward all these years later, and I am serving on the committee at Georgia Southern University for IPSE, which is Inclusive Post-Secondary Education, and I have brought handouts both on the post-secondary education as well as on the CSB Association. But Georgia Southern is going to become part of a network, and I'm proud of my alma mater for doing that. There's over 232 programs in the United States. And in Georgia, we have at Kennesaw State, Columbus State, East Georgia State, Georgia Tech, University of Georgia is coming on this spring in 2016, Georgia State University, Albany Tech, and Georgia Southern are in development, so that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities will have that choice and that option. Now, is that for everyone? Again, no. All of our individuals are just as unique and different as us. I mean, there are a lot of seniors who say, I want to go to college. A lot of seniors in high school say, no, I don't want to go to college. I want to go to the military. I want to go to technical school. You know, I just want to go straight to work. So our individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities should have the opportunity for college. And so we now have 3 individuals going to East Georgia College there in Statesboro, and Georgia Southern will be coming online with the 3 and a 4-year program. But now we're looking at maybe the need is so great out there that maybe we should have not compete against East Georgia, but I think there's plenty enough individuals wanting to come to school. They would have mentors at college. This would be great for special ed majors, psychology majors, social work majors, Christian organizations on the campus to be mentors for our individuals to go to college. And so we're working together, the committee. I'm excited about it. We've just got some funding for us to hire a director and to begin. So to be a part of that after all these years later, and I'm making sure that I'm saying now this is not just for young people coming out of high school, because, you know, Gina at 41, maybe she might want to go back to school and to go to Georgia Southern. So if you had any questions about post-secondary education, I think that's something that we all need to expand our horizons and believe that our individuals can do things. And I know my daughter, when she was born, she has a rare thing called porencephaly, and it's a large part of her brain did not develop. And so the doctor said she would never walk, talk, or literally do anything. And those of you that know her, she'd be up here speaking today. So it's, it shows you that you have to, think positive, and I fully believe in training programs and early intervention and all the things. And so you can get emotional about that and to see the growth and the potential. So we do not need to limit our individuals in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but to find ways that we can support them and help them to grow and to reach their maximum potential, whatever that might be, and have options and choices and I know everybody thinks, well, you need more funding, and we do want that rate increase, don't get me wrong, but there are many things that we can do as communities. That's why I like my little thing about communities, help offer those choices. And so I appreciate what the committee's doing. If there's any way that I can ever help in any way, over the years I've been blessed to have the opportunity to be an advocate and to interact with the legislature and come to the Capitol, and I've got wonderful leaders in our 8 counties, and Senator Hill and Senator Williams and Representative Workhauser and Representative Tankersley and just a lot of folks, and then adopted ones like adopting Representative Dempsey and Representative Houston and many other people. So I think Georgia there's nothing that Georgia can't do that we can't when we come together, and when we share the right ideals for all of our citizens, because people with disabilities are a large part of our society, and every day, but by the grace of God, we could go out and be struck, by an automobile and end up being disabled in some other way, not maybe developmentally disabled, but in other ways. And so are we our brother's keeper? I believe that the answer is yes. I believe that we need to do all that we can to give the necessary supports. And I thank y'all. Do y'all have any questions?
Let's see.
I could
thank
talk.
you.
I could talk all day now, but I figured I better not take all the time. But we've just had so many inspiring stories. My neighbor Cindy Burns from down in Savannah came, and then Easter Seals there in Augusta, and I just think that folks that are in this field, we just rock. I'm telling you, and there's nothing that we would not do. And with your help and the wonderful work of this committee, I'm so glad to see you studying this. And we met last week with another committee, Representative Hightower's committee, and I was able to come and speak there. And a lot of things, positive things, are looking like it's going to come out of that committee as well. So it just warms my heart to think that developmental disabilities is being studied by 3 different groups at the Capitol. So I just know something positive is going to come out of it. And thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, June. You are such an exciting, enthusiastic, and passionate voice for all who struggle in this. If you will hang on just a minute, we do have some questions or comments. Representative Werkheiser, we'll start with you.
You can see why June makes me tired. June is actually part of the reason I'm on this committee, because 15 years ago she got me involved, and and I didn't know the story. You were an advocate even before your daughter was born, so that just shows you the passion she has. When I was asked to be on this committee, that's one of the first things I did is, in June's schedule, took us about 3 or 4 weeks to carve out a couple hours, but I went over and we got together, and I rode as fast as I could for a couple hours, and felt overwhelmed, but just want to say thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, sir. We need more people like you in it. And people do see my daughter and I, we do look alike, and they said, "Oh, you got into this because of Gina." I said, "No, I was in this, and she found me. The Lord sent her to me." So what a blessing. And Representative Werkheiser is on board, and he does anything he can to help us, as do so many others. And I think that's why I know some, more positive things are going to come out of the study committee, because, Representative Hightower has a loved one, and he shared that and doesn't mind sharing that on the committee that he was on. So I think all of these things come together. Like, who would have thought 15 years ago when we got, at that time he wasn't Representative Werkheiser, he was Mr. Werkheiser, and a big thriving businessman in his community. And then later he becomes a representative that can have an impact. So it's just so, I believe that each one reach one, we teach one, and I think we're doing that in all the work today. And so I am very passionate, and I'm here to help in any way, and I'll have some handouts for y'all in just a minute.
Okay.
Thank y'all so much. It was nice seeing each and every one of you. Nice meeting y'all that I did not know. Everybody knows Representative Epps. They've known him for years and years, and I've heard good things about Representative Stovall. So, and I know that we're going to connect you with some things too. But I see you got your job coach here too. So we're getting you more connected. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Well, if not, Ms. June, thank you so much. And I will tell you that I pray that the Lord continues to bless you in this strong path you're on, and to keep the light bright on it, because you have taught me so much and helped me along the way in this. And
You've helped us more.
I really appreciate it, and so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, is there anyone? I'll ask first of all, or we can just open it up. I'm going to open it up for public comment right now. So if there's anything that any of you that are here would like for us to be aware of, anything we've missed or need to think about, we are about to wrap up the public meetings of this study committee and go to work on putting together our documents. If there's something you would like to add to the conversation, it's open mic time. Yes, please, can you come forward to the microphone? That would be great.
You wouldn't want me driving, but I can walk forward.
Well, that would be great if you can step forward and share with us. Introduce yourself to us first, okay?
Oh, is this it right here?
That's it. You're right there. If you speak, I think
okay.
it will pick you right up. It's a podium right there.
Excellent. My name is Vashawn Jones, and I am I guess what you would call a global provider. We operate in 7 states and 2 countries. And I don't have a developmental disability. However, obviously I am blind. But what I would like to say to the committee is, number one, thank you for being at the forefront of this conversation to get those with disabilities viable employment. And, you know, the three examples that I give is when you think of Uber and the disruption of the transportation industry, or you think of Netflix and the disruption of the cable industry, or blogging with the disruption of the newspaper industry, we're at the cusp of a great conversation that's going to definitely benefit Georgia by getting disabled individuals to work. Definitely appreciate the dialogue, and hopefully in the near future we can bring this into fruition. Outside of that, it's like I said, just a great opportunity to be standing here. You guys as representatives, of course we're talking about developmental disabilities now, but the blindness community and those in a wheelchair and others with disabilities are going to come to you guys with the same resolve and the same types of stories, and I just hope that you know, it's just as open as a dialogue as it is here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. Are there any questions at all for Mr. Jones? Nope, we're good. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Elizabeth Apley, and I represent All About Developmental Disabilities. And I just want to thank you again for holding these hearings and doing this wonderful work on supported employment and post-secondary education, critically important. I wanted to take just a minute of your time before you conclude to talk to you about legislation that a broad coalition of organizations, many of whom you've heard from during the course of these hearings, are supporting. The ABLE Act is federal legislation that passed in 2014 with very broad bipartisan support. It's passed in 32 states. And what an ABLE account allows people with serious disabilities to do is to save. Saving is an essential part of being able to live in the community, to work in an integrated setting, and to live independent lives. However, the critical safety net benefit programs that people with serious disabilities rely on, such as Medicaid and Social Security, SSI, have an asset limit of $2,000. The ABLE accounts allow people to save for qualified disability expenses without violating those means-tested limits, asset limits. And so they track the 529 higher education accounts that you know of, that people save for their children for college. They have similar kinds of limits and deductibilities, and they allow people to save in modest ways to pay for education, for supported employment, for health care, for transportation, for education, for housing, and related expenses related to their disabilities. We expect that this will be a very important bill that we hope to pass this year so that Georgia can join the other 32 states across the country that are helping people with disabilities to live independent lives. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
President Werkheiser.
So is the legislation already been filed, or? It's
being drafted. We expect to introduce it on the House side. We're working with Chairman Wendell Woolard. We've met with Jay Powell. We also have met with Senator Schaefer on the Senate side and others to make sure that the kind of support we need to get this done this session is moving forward. And we've gotten very strong indications of support that we're very grateful for.
Okay, you answered my other question. All right, thank you.
We think it has to start on the House side because it is proposing to track the 529 provision of a $2,000 tax deduction for contributions each year.
Any other questions or comments? I appreciate you bringing that up in our discussion. It is very important, and I had been following it, and I'm so glad that Chairman Willard is going to champion that for us.
We need all of your support. We want everyone's name on that bill when it goes in. Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me a moment.
Sure, certainly, certainly. Any other comments or questions from our audience? If not, then that brings us to the portion here where if there are any, I know we've taken in a lot of information, and Michael is committed to pull it all together to make sure we have some forward-moving steps in this discussion. But among those of us who are the members of the committee, I just wondered if there are any things that particularly are important to you, that you would like more information on, or that you feel we really need to strongly emphasize in this report. All right, Representative Stovall.
I kind of briefly mentioned a little bit about a meeting I had with a member in Clayton County with their support services and two other staff members with Georgia Vocational Rehab. And we sat down to kind of brainstorm on some things that we think that the committee could consider when moving forward, making sure that we have the options available. And what I did do, I sent it this morning to each one of the committee members who might not have had a chance to look at it and to report about it. But some of them kind of based on some of the things we heard yesterday and even today and even the first committee meeting. And I think like with the job sampling, one of the things we talked about was when you're looking at doing a job fair, kind of similar to where they actually took the individuals to the sites to be able to kind of better help with identifying those jobs that are more feasible for them instead of actually having a location and the employers coming there. It was when I heard it, I was excited because that was one of the conversations that we did talk about when it comes down to employment options for the individuals. We also talked about how the Department of Economic Development can actually use all of the statistics that we've heard from all the different employment agencies and assist them with having the best employees here in the state and using that as a tool for marketing to the future employers that are looking at coming to the state, and being able to even using our Quick Start program to be able to assist with the training with our individuals with disability as well. And I'm just trying to kind of run through some of it. And I think there was mentioned about reducing the caseload of the VR counselors so they can have more of a depth connection with the consumers of those that they're serving. And I think they mentioned that yesterday about the additional money they were able to get to kind of be able to hire more counselors. I think I did hear that yesterday. And another one was trying to look at the myths and misinformed population regarding employment of adults with disabilities. I think that was mentioned as well, as being able to do more of a marketing strategy within the communities to let them know that where you might have looked at that individuals are not able or capable to do some of the jobs that they are. And I think at our first meeting we had someone that was here that was talking about how they were able to go in and see the needs in the community, and then from there base the training. And I even heard that this morning with Easter Seal, and then base the training based on what the needs are in our business community. That way it's more marketable for those individuals. And let's see. And I think from the very first meeting we had, where I think Don and Darcy was talking about the cliff scenario and kind of bringing all of those organizations together, so it doesn't make it so hard for the parents and also for the individuals to try to have to run here, run there, run there, run there to get all these services. That it can kind of be in a more centralized location to make it easier for them, and then it won't be so frustrating. I know it's me. I'm having to go through a lot of it, being frustrated as well. Let's see. And I think even stressing more of the tax incentives that the employees are able to receive, I think would help with the marketing as well. And I think we even mentioned about doing some kind of video to be included with economic development as well as when they're promoting the state of Georgia, being able to kind of take a snippet of each one of the organizations and what they've done and being able to use that as a marketing tool as well. I think that might have been just kind of summarize some of the things that we talked about. I don't know, I think I saw Kim here. I didn't know if I missed something that she wanted to add on to what we might have talked about.
Can you go to the microphone just so we can make sure everyone that's listening out there also gets to hear you? Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kim Fernandez, and I am a support employment coach with Clayton Center in Clayton County, and Representative Stovall and I have had some conversations about opportunities to educate the community. And as I sat here today, that's what everybody, the common denominator of the conversation was that we need to expand outside these walls and the walls that are built up and the barriers in the community and educate people. I don't think it's not that they don't want to help, they just don't know how to help or what the opportunities are. And people like Mr. Workhauser, who has experience working with individuals with developmental disabilities, and other organizations, whether they be nonprofit or for-profit businesses that have success stories, need to be able to share them. And so what we're talking about with the video is that those webinars or those videos can get involved. We can create one with employers and let the employers talk about their successes and what they view, and the individuals, obviously with their permission, about their successes. And it wasn't so much the job fair being where we would go, and I know it's a two-sided street, and there's the employer and the employee, but I think it's more of a bridge and connecting the person, what they're gifted with, and the employer. And that's really the benefit of working with an individual that has a developmental disability, because they do have the work ethic, and if they have the passion that goes along with that they have a gift already, that's where you're going to grow the individual and you're going to grow the company. So I think that's the video portion of it that we were talking about. And the reverse job fair was that your typical traditional job fair, the person sitting on the other side of that, trifold or beside that trifold has an idea of what the people do, but not like the people that do the job, that work the job. And so if we go in as job coaches, we can actually see the environment, we can look for safety issues, we can look for supports that might be needed. We get to meet the people. And obviously there are some situations that I can say quite honestly that I've been out in the field just going out and trying to look at different genres, if you will, of employment opportunities that aren't such the traditional laborious job, but something that is, foster a gift inside. That I have really said, I don't think that's a really good environment. I don't want to put anyone in their environment. And that's only because I get to meet people, I get to look at their body language, I'm looking at paraverbal communication, I'm looking at those individuals that are on that job site too, not just the job, not just the environment. I'm looking at who of these individuals get to come to work with every day, because that's such a big part of everybody's life. It's not just, it's not, I think that we need to also think in reverse too. It's not the individual that has the wrong concept. We need to adjust how we think, and how we operate. So I think the reverse job fair is a great opportunity. Not just, I wouldn't say take the individuals that we support first. I think that would be an RSVP that, the community would open it up to providers and other entities of this community where that provide support for individuals, that we get to go in and we get to actually do that, because that is we're their gatekeeper, and whatever we do, we want it to be successful as much as possible from the get-go. We want less turnover, and obviously there is turnover sometimes because it's not a right fit. We think it can be, because we're human. We're going to make errors, but I think that's the whole idea: is educate the community, members in the community, connect person-centered talents to businesses, so it's not just a skill, but it is a fostered gift within that person. And sometimes what we think is, I would never want to do that job, would be something that somebody that has a disability loves to do and enjoys doing. So, and one thing we didn't talk about was all the other parts of our government that already have systems in place. We've got Quick Start, we've got workforce development, there's all these entities that already have existing systems in place that are for businesses that are already in Georgia and businesses that are coming to Georgia. And we are a very viable workforce that we can compete with the best of the best if we give them the right supports. So anyway, that's all I want to say.
Thank you so much. Anything else we got? Okay. Any other comments or suggestions? Yes, Representative Workhouse.
Just want to make a comment that, in fact, my daughter, she's a transition academy coach. So a couple of months ago, I said, I need to come see what you do. And I wanted, before LaShawn left, she started teaching at the Academy for the Blind in Macon, but she's a transition academy coach, and it was pretty exciting to go to her classroom, and she went through the entire students, and they introduced themselves to me and said where they worked, but just wanted to brag on just our young people, because I don't think this would have ever happened when I was in high school. So last year she decided to start a club, and she called it Best Buddies, and it was to get students that were not disabled to just form a club and come into her classroom and befriend those. And she had over 60 people sign up, and that's pretty exciting. So that's just encouraging for our future, and I think that's why we've got a bright future ahead.
Thank you so much. Chairman Epps.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank all of you for taking your time. I know you mentioned our time, but yours is from the heart, and we appreciate that. I just want to say what we've heard has certainly been enlightening, but we realize at the end of this whole process is an appropriations process that drives everything that we're seeking to identify here. And Chairman Dempsey does an outstanding job as our subcommittee chair. We start off with 4 to 5 pages of ask, and then you have to condense it down. I'll say this: the education that you have given me is going to not make this task any easier this year as we look into this. You put faces to what were otherwise just an appropriation request, and no one likes to pick winners and losers. I can assure you of that from the legislative standpoint. And I wish we, as a state, could put a smile on everyone's face. Just sadly we can't. But I'll encourage this study committee and the members that make it up to be engaged and to let the importance of this be known. we've heard over the last couple of years the danger of these people becoming couch buddies or couch people that go through the therapy process and then just don't have the opportunities. It was enlightening when we visited Kennesaw, and then the Novus works after that, and I know firsthand what we do in the Middle Georgia area, and Representative works out. The Blind Academy is there in Macon, and I know some of the resident supervisors there that do it on they anguish personally over things that should be important to all of us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you for what you provided us with. Hopefully we can account for more than we've been able to in the past. I don't know the situation. Chairman Dempsey will come into a committee meeting and said, we have this amount to work with. Then our task is to hopefully move forward in the best manner possible to address as many areas as possible and hopefully provide a resource for that. But you haven't made the problem any less difficult. But I think you've given us a side to it that personally I never had the opportunity to view before in the last 2 years that I've been on her subcommittee. But I thank you for what you provided for us. I'm proud that each of you are devoted and dedicated. When you open it for questions, sometimes it's, as she says, it's hard to bring forth questions without getting too emotionally reactive to it. I appreciate your emotion. East Facility has a great facility in Dublin that I'm aware of, and I know those people and their dedication, and I just think it's an aspect of life that I think our state needs to really become all it can be with. And Elizabeth, I appreciate you always for being there. She travels everywhere for this cause. But Chairman Dempsey, thank you not only for your the opportunity and your support of this, but for giving us the opportunity to identify, to listen to, and to hopefully be better prepared to bring forth adequate appropriations as far as the means that we're operating in are allowable. And Representative Stovall, you have been a inspiration for this. I just want to tell you that I know you do it from a personal basis, but it's you've kind of been the chart that I've gauged by to see where we move. And of course, Michael is always the person that has a thorough understanding and helps us to realize the technical aspects of things that we have to operate within. And Representative Workhauser, thank you. It's even more difficult when the personal aspect of it's involved. And I think, this is one time that you want to pay more attention with your heart than with your head. So, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and I also want to thank each and every member of the committee. You've given a great deal of time and effort and thought into this and into the conversation, and we have a little bit more thought to give, without a doubt, as we move forward here. We do have a December 1 deadline that we're going to try to meet and have that delivered to the speaker, have some really, and I know this is not an easy task, so thank you, Michael, and thank you, Julius. I know for keeping us on task and keeping us within the bounds of the law, doing the right thing as well, too. There's some great challenges and some really, the word profound is basically just what is on my heart, the information that we've listened to from this. And what I found so inspirational is that no one is waiting for government to do this. Y'all have all found ways. Our colleges, our universities, our technical colleges are stepping out there. Our Department of Education is also already doing it. Is there more we can each do? Without a doubt. I think one of my proudest moments was to sit at Kennesaw State and hear the students speak from the University of Georgia, the destination dogs concept, that they heard this was happening in some other places and they wanted to be a part. They were not waiting for administration or for professors. They were going to do it. And then each time we've met, I've heard another college or another school or another organization or another nonprofit that is finding a new way. And how do we do this? So as we talk about Georgia being the best place to do business, to be employed and have employers, I think this is really a focus that we need to shine some bright light on, that this is a part of that message. And how do we get there, and how do we make that equally loud and valued as well? So that will be our goal as we move forward. This began with a conversation in my office from a few people, but particularly I know that Darcy, who is traveling today, and Dawn sat and with Pam Dempsey, probably some others. It's been a while since January. We're getting ready to have another January, aren't we? But to talk about work, to focus on the work, the employment first concept. When we began to talk about that, though, there's so much to be ready to work, and it starts at birth, really. It really does. It starts with those life coaches, with those examples, and with those people that always do not say no, that are inspirational and say there is no limit to what you can do, no matter what your circumstance is. So I want that message to get out there strongly. Also, really, I'm wrapping my head around that thought that, that's what adults do. They work. It is not only in this community that people don't realize that that's what adults do. They go to work. They grow up to do that. So we continue to put forward that message as well. We're going to be looking at a person-centered approach. You have each let that be known with each and every conversation we've had, to continue to empower that passion, that privilege, that ability, and that moving forward to independence and dignity, and to create opportunity. So I thank all of you. There are many of you in the room that have put in a lot of time. There are many probably listening out there that have put in a lot of time. And we'll be working to get any of the documents that were not included because of some of our technical difficulties along the way online, so that this can become sort of a living, breathing document, I hope. We're going to start. And it will only be a start, because this certainly is, I think, a very evolutionary process, and we've taken some big steps in the evolution working through this. So at this point, I will once again say thank you for all you have given us. As you step away, if you think of something else we need, whether it is in a written document or whether it is a conversation that we need to have offline, please let me know. We're going to work pretty fast, but you have given us such good information to work from. There are many examples of steps we need to take. So I thank each and every one of you for that. I hope you have a great holiday season as we start in this season of thankfulness. There is much to be thankful for in this conversation in the communities where each of you serve. So may God continue to bless your work. Thank you.